Aliens discovered a human ghost warship, awakening humanity's deadliest weapon Part 3. Uninvited guests, the Dominion fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel like a storm arriving from nowhere. 12 warships, each one bigger than the Hammer of Sol, appeared in a perfect formation. Their hulls were black and red, covered in weapons and armor. They looked like predators, hungry and eager for blood. On the bridge of the quiet dawn, Commander Rillo watched them arrive with growing fear. A small scout ship was nothing compared to these monsters. One shot from any of them would destroy him completely. "Commander," Pala said, her voice shaking. "They are hailing us. Put it through." The screen flickered and a face appeared. It was not a pleasant face. The Dominion were a tall species, with gray skin, sharp teeth, and eyes that burned like fire. This one wore the uniform of a high commander, with medals covering his chest. "Valkyrie vessel," the commander said. His voice was like grinding rocks. "I am Lord Kaza of the 3rd Dominion Fleet. You have found something that belongs to us. You will surrender it immediately." Rillo tried to keep his voice steady. "Lord Kaza, we are peaceful explorers. We found a derelict ship drifting in space. We did not know it belonged to anyone. It belonged to our enemies," Kaza said. "Enemies we destroyed 800 years ago. That ship and everything on it is war salvage. It belongs to the Dominion now. With respect, Lord Kaza, there are living beings on that ship. Survivors. They have rights. They have nothing." Kaza roared. The screen flickered from the force of his voice. "Humans are extinct. They are a dead species. Whatever creatures you found are relics, nothing more. They will be collected and studied. The ship will be taken apart. And you, Valkyrie, will forget this ever happened. Do you understand?" Rillo felt sick. He looked at Yuna, who was standing beside him, hidden from the camera. Her face was calm, but her hands were clenched into fists. "I understand," Rillo said. We will cooperate." Kaza smiled. It was an ugly smile. "Good. Stay where you are. We are sending boarding parties to secure the human vessel. Do not interfere." The screen went dark. Yuna grabbed Rillo's arm. "How long until they reach the Hammer?" Rillo checked his instruments. 20 minutes. Maybe less. That is not enough time. We have only started waking the crew. Most of them are still frozen. What do we do? Yuna thought fast. Her mind raced through options, plans, possibilities. 20 minutes. 10,000 sleeping soldiers. 12 enemy warships. The math was impossible, unless... "Rillo, can your ship connect to mine? Can you send power from your engines to my systems?" "I think so." "But why?" "The Hammer has emergency weapons. They run on a separate power system. If we can give them just a little energy, I can activate the point defense guns. It will not stop a full attack, but it might slow down the boarding parties." Rillo nodded. "Pela, move us next to the human ship. Docs, prepare a power transfer cable. Everyone, we are doing something very stupid. I hope you all understand." The crew of the Quiet Dawn worked faster than they had ever worked before. They moved their small ship close to the Hammer of Sol and attached a cable to its hull. Power began to flow, not much, but enough. Deep inside the human warship, lights began to flicker. Systems that had been dead for centuries started to wake up. Emergency power spread through the ship like blood, returning to frozen limbs. And in the cryogenic bay, the revival process accelerated. Yuna ran through the corridors, no longer floating in zero gravity. The artificial gravity was back, weak but working. She reached the cryogenic bay just as the first pods began to open. Steam filled the air. Bodies stirred. Eyes opened. The first person out was Lieutenant Jisoo. She was a tall woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She stumbled out of her pod, confused and weak, but when she saw Yuna, recognition filled her face. Yuna? What is happening? No time to explain, Yuna said, grabbing her arm to steady her. The Dominion is here. They are boarding us in 15 minutes. We need everyone awake and armed. Jisu's confusion turned to focus. She was a soldier. She knew how to follow orders. How many crew members are awake? Maybe 50. We need more. Start opening pods manually. Anyone who can hold a weapon, get them to the armory. More pods were opening now. Soldiers stumbled out, coughing and shaking, but alive. Yuna moved through them, shouting instructions, helping them stand. Some she recognized. Some she did not. But they were all wearing the same uniform. They were all part of the same crew. Then she saw him. Captain Taiho was older than the others. His hair was gray, his face was lined with wrinkles, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. He climbed out of his pod slowly, carefully, like a king stepping down from his throne. When he saw Yuna, he smiled. "Officer Yuna," he said. His voice was weak but warm. "I had a dream that we lost the war." "We did, sir," Yuna said. "But the war is not over." She told him everything. The 800 years of sleep. The Valkyrie who found them. The Dominion fleet outside. She watched his face as she spoke, saw the pain and anger and determination pass through his eyes. When she finished, Taiho was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened his back and lifted his chin. "How many of our people are awake?" "About 300 now, sir." "More every minute? Weapons?" "The armory is intact. We have plasma rifles, grenades, body armor. Enough for everyone. And Dokabi?" Yuna felt a chill. "Secure, sir. Ready for activation. But I could not enter the final code. Only you have that." Taiho nodded slowly. "Good. That is very good." He looked around at his crew. Hundreds of soldiers now filling the cryogenic bay, all looking to him for guidance. "Listen to me, all of you. I know you are confused. I know you are tired. I know you want answers. But right now, all you need to know is this. The enemy is coming. The same enemy we fought 800 years ago. The same enemy we swore to destroy. They think we are dead. They think they won. Let us show them how wrong they are." A cheer rose from the crowd. It was weak at first, just a few voices, but it grew. Soldiers who had been sleeping for centuries found their strength again. They remembered who they were. They remembered what they had trained for. The humans were waking up. And they were angry. Taiho turned to Yuna. "Take a squad to the main entrance. That is where they will breach first. Hold them as long as you can. And you, sir? I am going to the bridge. Someone needs to fly this ship." He smiled, the same calm smile he always wore before battle. "We have slept long enough. Time to work." 10 minutes later, Yuna crouched behind a barricade with 20 soldiers. They had set up the position in the main corridor leading from the airlock. The walls were reinforced with metal plates. The floor was covered with cables and emergency lights. It looked like a fortress inside a ship. Beside her was Sergeant Wanjin, a big man with a scarred face and hands like hammers. He had been the best close combat fighter on the ship. He was checking his rifle for the 5th time. "You know," he said, "when I went to sleep, I thought I would never wake up." "Same," Yuna said. "I thought we were all going to die. That the Dominion would find us and finish us off. They are about to try." Wanjin laughed. It was a dark, dangerous laugh. "Good. I was getting bored of sleeping." A sound echoed through the ship. Metal grinding against metal. The airlock was opening. The Dominion boarding party was here. Yuna raised her rifle and aimed at the corridor ahead. Behind her, 20 soldiers did the same. They were tired, weak, and outnumbered. But they were human. And humans did not die easily. The first Dominion soldier appeared around the corner. He was huge, covered in black armor, carrying a weapon that glowed with red energy. He saw the barricade and raised his weapon to fire. He never got the chance. 20 plasma rifles fired at once. The corridor filled with blue light. The Dominion soldier fell, and the ones behind him fell too. Bodies piled up in the narrow space, blocking the way forward. More came. They always came. Una fired again and again. Her arms hurt. Her eyes burned. But she did not stop. She could not stop, because behind her, somewhere in the depths of the ship, her captain was preparing something. Something that would change everything. She just had to hold on long enough for him to finish. Aliens discovered a human ghost warship, awakening humanity's deadliest. Weapon Part 1. The derelict the Valkyrie scout vessel Quiet Dawn moved slowly through the darkness of unmapped space. This region of the galaxy was empty. No planets. No stations. No life. Just endless black nothing stretching in every direction. The crew of 12 aliens had been traveling for 6 months, searching for new resources for their people. Commander Rillo stood at the center of the bridge. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 eyes that could see in complete darkness. His people, the Valkyrie, were peaceful explorers. They had traveled the stars for thousands of years, mapping the galaxy and making friends with other species. They had never started a war. They believed in knowledge and discovery. "Commander," said the navigation officer, a young female named Pela, "I am detecting something strange ahead." Rillo walked to her station and looked at her screen. There was a large object floating in space, about 200 kilometers away. It was not moving on its own. It was just drifting, tumbling slowly end over end like a leaf falling from a tree. "What is it?" Rillo asked. "I do not know," Pela said. "It is very big, almost 1 kilometer long. But it has no power, no heat, no signals. It appears to be dead." Rillo felt his heart beat faster. In all his years of exploration, he had never found anything like this. A dead ship in empty space was rare. Most ships that lost power were found near planets or space stations. But this one was in the middle of nowhere, far from any known civilization. "Take us closer," he ordered. "But be careful." The Quiet Dawn moved toward the mysterious object. As they got closer, the shape became clear on their screens. It was definitely a ship. A very large ship. It had a long, angular body with sharp edges and flat surfaces. 2 massive engines sat at the back, cold and silent. The hull was covered in strange symbols that none of the crew recognized. "I have never seen a design like this," said the science officer, an older male named Dox. "The construction is unlike anything in our database. This ship was not built by any species we know." Rillo stared at the image on the screen. The ship looked dangerous, even though it was dead. There was something about its shape that made him uncomfortable. It was built for war. He could see weapon ports along the hull, dozens of them, all dark and empty now. "How old is it?" Rillo asked. Dox ran his instruments over the hull. His 4 eyes went wide. "Commander, this ship is approximately 800 years old." The bridge went silent. 800 years. That was before the Valkyrie had even developed faster than light travel. That was before most of the current galactic civilizations existed. This ship was ancient. "We must investigate," Rillo said. "Prepare a boarding team." Some of his crew looked nervous. Pela spoke up. "Commander, is that wise? We do not know what is inside. It could be dangerous." "That is exactly why we must look," Rillo said. "Knowledge is never dangerous. Only ignorance is dangerous. We are explorers. This is what we do." 30 minutes later, Rillo led a team of 5 through the airlock of the dead ship. They wore environmental suits because there was no air inside. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors covered in frost. Ice crystals floated in the zero gravity, sparkling like tiny diamonds. The walls were made of thick metal. Everything was built strong and heavy. Rillo touched the wall and felt how solid it was. This ship was designed to take punishment. It was designed to survive battles. "Look at this," Doc said, pointing his light at the wall. There was writing on the wall. Strange symbols that curved and flowed in ways the Velthari language did not. Below the symbols was a picture. It showed a planet, blue and green, with one large moon beside it. "A home world," Rillo said quietly. "This is where they came from." They continued deeper into the ship. Every room they found was the same. Frozen, dark, dead. They found sleeping quarters with small beds. They found a kitchen with strange cooking equipment. They found a medical bay with tools they did not understand. Then they found the pods. The room was enormous. It stretched far beyond what their lights could reach. And filling every space, from floor to ceiling, were thousands of glass tubes. Each tube was big enough to hold a body. And inside each tube, they could see shapes. Frozen shapes, bodies. "By the stars," Pela whispered. "They are still here. The crew is still here." Rillo walked between the rows of tubes, looking at the faces inside. The beings were strange to him. They had soft skin in various shades of brown and pink. They had hair on their heads in black, brown, and yellow colors. They had 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. They looked peaceful, like they were sleeping. "Are they dead?" Someone asked. Doc scanned one of the tubes with his instruments. His face changed. "Commander, they are not dead. They are in some kind of suspended animation. Their bodies are frozen, but their cells are still alive. They have been sleeping for 800 years. Rillo could not believe it. 800 years of sleep. What kind of species could do this? What kind of technology could keep a body alive for so long? "There must be 10,000 of them," Pela said, her voice full of wonder. Rillo walked further into the room. His light moved across the tubes, one after another. All sleeping, all waiting. Then he saw something different. One tube, near the center of the room, had a small green light blinking on its side. All the other tubes were dark, but this one had power. He moved closer. Inside the tube was a female. She was small, with black hair and a round face. She looked young, though Rillo did not know how to judge age in this species. The green light blinked faster as he approached. "Docs," Rillo called. "Come look at this." The science officer hurried over. He scanned the tube, and his eyes went wide again. "This unit is active. It is running on emergency power. And is." He stopped, checking his readings twice. "Commander, the revival process has already started. She is waking up." As if hearing his words, the tube made a hissing sound. Steam poured out from the edges. The glass front began to slide open. Rillo stepped back, his heart pounding. The female's eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black. They looked around in confusion, seeing the alien faces staring at her. She tried to move, but her body was weak from 800 years of sleep. Her mouth opened and closed. Finally, she spoke. The words meant nothing to Rillo. It was a language he had never heard. But Docs was already working with his translator device, analyzing the sounds, building a language pattern. "She is asking where she is," Doc said. "She is asking what happened to her ship." Rillo stepped forward slowly, trying to look peaceful and friendly. "Tell her she is safe. Tell her we are friends. We found her ship drifting in space. We mean no harm." Docs translated. The female listened. Her eyes moved from face to face, studying them. Then she asked another question. She wants to know how long she has been asleep, Doc said. Rillo hesitated. How do you tell someone that everything they knew is gone? That everyone they loved has been dead for centuries? That the universe has changed completely while they slept? Tell her the truth, he said finally. Tell her it has been 800 years. Doc spoke the words. The female's face changed. Something dark passed through her eyes. Pain, loss, grief, but also something else. Something that made Rillo feel cold. She spoke again, her voice stronger now. She says her name is Yuna, Docs translated. She says she was a weapons officer on this ship. And she asks. He paused, checking the translation. She asked if the war is over. What war? Rillo asked. Yuna looked at him with those dark eyes. She spoke one word. Docs translated. Dominion. Rillo felt a chill run through his body. Every species in the galaxy knew that name. The Dominion. The empire that ruled half the known universe. The conquerors who had destroyed dozens of civilizations. The masters of war and death. And this ancient human had fought against them. Rillo looked at the thousands of sleeping bodies around him. He looked at the massive warship they were standing in. He looked at Yuna, this small female who had survived 800 years of sleep. He realized that they had not just found a dead ship. They had found something much more dangerous. Aliens discovered a human ghost warship, awakening humanity's deadliest weapon. Part 4. The Ghost Awakens. Captain Taiho ran through the corridors of his ship. And with every step, more of his strength returned. 800 years of sleep had not made him weak. It had made him patient. Now his patience was over. The bridge was exactly as he remembered it. The captain's chair in the center, surrounded by control stations in a half-circle. The main screen at the front, now showing static and broken images. The walls covered in displays and buttons and switches, most of them dark, but some starting to glow as power returned. Computer, Taiho said. Report. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a voice spoke from the speakers. It was an old voice, mechanical and calm. Captain Taiho recognized. Ship status, critical. Main power at 3%. Weapons offline. Engines offline. Life support at minimum. Cryogenic systems failing. Estimated active crew, 4,200 and rising. 4,000. Not bad for 20 minutes of work. But not enough. How many Dominion soldiers on board? Scanning. Approximately 200 hostile contacts detected on decks 7 through 12. More are entering through 3 breach points. Taiho sat in his chair and gripped the armrests. The leather was cold, but it felt like home. Computer, what systems can I activate with current power? Internal communications. Basic sensors. Point defense guns on decks 5 and 6. Emergency bulkheads. Not much to work with. No, Captain. It is not. Taiho smiled grimly. The computer had always been honest. That was one thing he liked about machines. They did not try to make you feel better. Seal all bulkheads on decks 8 through 12. Cut off the Dominion boarding parties from the rest of the ship. And activate internal communications. Done. Heavy doors slammed shut throughout the ship. The Dominion soldiers suddenly found themselves trapped in sections of corridors, unable to move forward or backward. Some tried to cut through the doors with their weapons, but human steel was thick. It would take them hours. Taiho touched a button on his chair. His voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. This is Captain Taiho. All crew members, report to battle stations. We are under attack, but we are not beaten. The Dominion thinks they have won. They are wrong. We have faced these enemies before. We have fought them in the darkness of space and the fire of battle. We have lost friends, family, and our home world. but we have never lost our will to fight. Today, we show them why humanity was never defeated. We were only sleeping, and now we are awake." Across the ship, soldiers heard his words. They stopped running and stood straighter. Fear left their faces, and determination took its place. They checked their weapons. They tightened their armor. They remembered why they had joined the Navy. They were the crew of the Hammer of Soul, and they were ready for war. In the main corridor, Yuna heard the captain's speech and felt tears in her eyes. She had almost forgotten what hope sounded like, but Taiho's voice brought it back. "Hold the line," she shouted to her squad. "The captain is coming." The Dominion soldiers kept pushing forward. They had brought heavy weapons now, blasting through the barricade piece by piece. Yuna's squad was down to 15 people. They were running out of ammunition. They were running out of time. Then something changed. The emergency lights turned from red to blue. New lights appeared on the walls, running in lines toward the back of the ship. A loud hum filled the air, like a giant machine waking up. "What is that?" Wanjin asked. Yuna knew. She knew exactly what it was. "The main reactor," she whispered. Someone started the main reactor. Deep in the heart of the Hammer of Soul, the fusion reactor came back to life. Power surged through the ship like blood through veins. Systems that had been dead for centuries activated one after another. Lights came on. Air began to flow. Gravity stabilized, and weapons powered up. On the outside of the ship, gun turrets that had been pointing at nothing for 800 years suddenly moved. They turned toward the Dominion ships orbiting nearby. Red lights appeared on their tips. On the bridge of his flagship, Lord Kaza saw the human ship come alive. His eyes went wide with shock and anger. "What is happening?" he demanded. "That ship was dead." "It is activating weapons, my lord," his officer reported. "All gun batteries are targeting our fleet." "Impossible. That ship has been drifting for centuries." "It cannot." The Hammer of Soul fired. Plasma beams cut through space like lightning through clouds. They hit the nearest Dominion ship and punched through its armor like paper. Explosions bloomed along its hull. Fire spread. Within seconds, the ship was breaking apart. The Dominion fleet responded with everything they had. Missiles launched. Energy beams fired. The space around the hammer became a storm of destruction. But the human ship moved. Its engines, thought dead, roared to life. It dodged and weaved between attacks with grace that should have been impossible for something so large. Taio's hands flew across the controls. He was flying his ship like it was part of his own body. Every turn, every shot, every movement was perfect. "All crew," he announced. "Brace for combat maneuvers. We are going to show these monsters how humans fight." The Hammer of Soul spun in space and accelerated toward the Dominion fleet. Its guns fired continuously, hitting ship after ship. One Dominion cruiser exploded. Then another. The enemy formation scattered, trying to escape the fury of the awakened ghost. Inside the ship, the trapped Dominion boarding parties realized they were in trouble. The bulkheads were still sealed, but now human soldiers were hunting them. Squads moved through the corridors, clearing each section with brutal efficiency. Yuna led her team into Deck 10, where 50 Dominion soldiers were trapped. They had built a defensive position, using crates and furniture as cover. They opened fire as soon as they saw the humans. "Grenades!" Yuna shouted. 3 devices flew through the air and landed behind the Dominion position. They exploded with blue fire, scattering the enemy soldiers. Yuna's team charged in, firing as they moved. The fighting was close and brutal. Plasma shots flew in every direction. Bodies fell on both sides. Wanjin grabbed a Dominion soldier and threw him into a wall with enough force to crack the metal. Jizu shot 2 enemies with 1 beam, her aim perfect even in the chaos. When it was over, the humans stood among the bodies of their enemies. They were bloody and tired, but they were alive. Deck 10 secured, Yuna reported through her communicator. Good work, Taiho's voice replied. All teams report similar progress. The ship will be clear within the hour. What about the enemy fleet? 4 ships destroyed. 3 retreating. The rest are maintaining distance. They are afraid to get close. There was satisfaction in his voice. Yuna, report to the bridge. Bring Lieutenant Jisoo and Sergeant Wanjin. We have something to discuss. 10 minutes later, the 4 of them stood on the bridge. The main screen showed the space battle outside. The Dominion ships were indeed keeping their distance now. They had learned to respect the hammer of Sol. Taeho sat in his chair, looking older than ever, but also stronger. We won the first round, he said. But this is not over. The Dominion will send reinforcements. Bigger ships, more soldiers. We cannot fight them all. Then what do we do? Jisoo asked. Taeho looked at Yuna. You know, do you not? Yuna nodded slowly. Dakabi. Yes. Taeho stood up and walked to a panel on the wall. He placed his hand on a scanner. A small door opened, revealing a keypad with numbers and letters. 800 years ago, humanity knew we could not win the war. We were outmatched, outgunned, outnumbered. So we made a plan. A backup plan. We hid ships across the galaxy. We built secret bases. We put our best soldiers into cryogenic sleep. And we created a signal that would wake them all up. Project Dakagi, Wanjin said. I heard rumors, but I never believed them. It was real. Taiho began entering a code. The keypad beeped with each button. We scattered humanity across the stars, hidden, waiting, just in case we survived. He entered the final number and pressed confirm. And now we're going to bring them back. A new screen appeared on the main display. It showed a map of the galaxy, with hundreds of small dots scattered across it. Each dot was labeled with a name and a number. These are the sleeper ships, Taiho said. The hidden colonies. The secret fleets. All waiting for one signal. He pressed the final button. Signal sent, the computer announced. Project Dakabi activated. Transmission broadcasting on all frequencies. Across the galaxy, in hidden places no one knew existed, machines began to wake up. Cryogenic pods began to open. Reactors began to power. Ships that had been floating in darkness for centuries began to move. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity was just beginning. Aliens discovered a human ghost warship awakening humanity's deadliest. Weapon Part 5. Humanity's return Lord Kaza stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching the battle reports with growing horror. His fleet was in ruins. 6 of his 12 ships were destroyed or disabled. The others were keeping their distance from the human warship, afraid to get too close. This is impossible, he muttered. One ship. One ancient dead ship. How is it doing this? His communications officer turned pale. My lord, we are receiving strange signals. They are coming from all over the galaxy. What kind of signals? We do not know. They are on frequencies we have never seen before. They are everywhere. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Kaza felt cold fear spreading through his chest. He had studied history. He knew what humans were capable of. 800 years ago, his ancestors had fought a terrible war against them. The humans had lost, yes, but not before inflicting damage that took centuries to repair. Not before showing the Dominion that some prey could bite back, and now they were waking up. Get me a connection to the High Command, he ordered. Tell them what is happening. Tell them. The screen flickered. A new face appeared. It was a human male, old and worn, with gray hair and calm eyes. He wore a military uniform covered in symbols and medals. He was smiling, and it was not a friendly smile. "Lord Kaza," Captain Taiho said, "I believe we have not been formally introduced." Kaza's claws dug into his armrests. "Human, you should be dead. Your species was destroyed. Reports of our death were greatly exaggerated." Taiho leaned back in his chair. "I wanted to give you a message. Lord Kaza, I wanted you to understand what you have done today. We have done nothing but claim what belongs to us. You have woken a sleeping giant." Taiho's smile faded. His eyes became hard as stone. 800 years ago, my people knew we could not win the war. We knew the Dominion was too strong, too numerous, too powerful. So we made a choice. We scattered ourselves across the galaxy. We hid our ships, our soldiers, our families. We went to sleep and waited. Waited for what? For this moment. For someone to find us. For a reason to wake up. Taiho pressed a button on his chair. The screen split, showing dozens of new images. Ships. Human ships. Rising from planets, emerging from asteroids, powering up in deep space. Everywhere. Kaza felt his blood freeze. "No, this is not possible. We are everywhere," Taiho continued. "Hidden in the dark places of the galaxy where you never thought to look. Sleeping in ships you thought were just debris. Waiting in bunkers on planets you considered worthless. And now, thanks to you, we are all awake." The communications officer spoke with a trembling voice. "My lord, we are receiving reports from across Dominion space. Human ships are appearing everywhere. Hundreds of them. Our outlying bases are under attack." On the screen, Taiho was still speaking. "My people have a saying, Lord Kaza, let sleeping dogs lie. Do you know what that means? It means some things should not be disturbed. Some enemies should not be provoked. You should have left us alone. We will destroy you," Kaza growled. "We have millions of ships, billions of soldiers. You cannot defeat the Dominion." "Maybe not today," Taiho agreed. "Maybe not tomorrow. But we have time. We have patience. And we have something you will never understand." "What is that?" "Oh," Taiho stood up from his chair. "My people survived the destruction of our home world. We survived 800 years of darkness. We survived because we believed that one day, somehow, we would come back. And now that day has arrived." The screen changed again. This time, it showed a map of the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Dominion territory. But now blue dots were appearing everywhere, spreading like stars being born. "This is the signal I sent," Taiho explained. "Project Dakebi, the ghost signal. It is reaching every hidden human ship and colony in the galaxy. In hours, they will all be awake. In days, they will all be armed. In weeks, they will all be fighting." Kaza slammed his fist on his armrest. "We will hunt you down. We will burn every ship, destroy every colony, kill every last one of you. You tried that already. It did not work." Taiho's voice was cold now, cold and hard. "Here is what is going to happen, Lord Kaza. You are going to take your broken fleet and run. You are going to tell your masters what you found out here. You are going to warn them that the humans are back. And then you are going to watch as your empire starts to crumble. You think you can threaten the Dominion? I am not threatening. I am promising." Taiho stepped forward until his face filled the screen. "You destroyed our world. You killed our families. You hunted us across the stars like animals. But you made one mistake. You did not finish the job. And now we are going to return every drop of blood you spilled." The screen went dark. Kaza stood in silence, surrounded by his terrified crew. Outside, the human ship was moving away, no longer interested in fighting. It had done what it needed to do. It had sent its signal. Now it was going to join its brothers and sisters across the galaxy. "My lord," the communications officer said. "What do we do?" Kaza did not answer for a long time. Then, slowly, he sat down in his chair. "We report to High Command. We tell them what happened here today. And we prepare for war." Across space, on the bridge of the Hammer of Sol, Captain Taiho watched the Dominion fleet retreat. His crew surrounded him, tired but victorious. Yuna stood at his right side. Jizu and Wanjin stood behind him. They had fought together, bled together, and survived together. "It worked," Yuna said quietly. "The signal is spreading. Ships are waking up everywhere." "How many?" Taiho asked. The computer answered. "Current projections indicate approximately 347 human vessels responding to the DOKB signal. Estimated personnel, over 1 million. More are activating every hour. 1 million humans, hidden across the galaxy for 8 centuries. All waking up at the same moment, all ready to fight." Taiho felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt hope. "Computer, open a channel. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." "Channel open, Captain." Taiho took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had been waiting for. This was the message that would echo across the stars. "This is Captain Taiho of the United Earth Navy. To all human ships, all colonies, all survivors, the long sleep is over. Project DOKB is active. We are no longer hiding. We are no longer running. We are no longer afraid." He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. They were watching him with tears in their eyes. They had waited so long for this moment. "The Dominion thinks they destroyed us. They think they won the war. They are wrong. We have been waiting, preparing, surviving. And now we are ready. Every ship that can fly, every soldier that can fight, every human who still believes in our future. Join us. Find your way to the rally points. The coordinates are in the DOKB signal. We are going to build a new fleet. We are going to take back our place in the galaxy. We are going to make the Dominion regret the day they ever attacked Earth." Commander Rillo stood at the back of the bridge, watching with wonder. His peaceful Veltari ship had accidentally started a galactic revolution. He had never expected this when he decided to investigate a mysterious derelict. Yuna noticed him and walked over. "Thank you," she said. "If you had not found us, none of this would be happening." "I am not sure that is a good thing," Rillo admitted. "There is going to be a lot of war now." "Yes, there is." Yuna looked at the stars on the main screen. "But there was always going to be war. The Dominion does not stop. They keep conquering, keep destroying, keep killing. The only difference now is that someone can fight back." "Can you really defeat them?" Yuna thought about the question. Could a few hundred ships really challenge an empire with millions? Could 1 million humans really stand against billions of Dominion soldiers? "I do not know," she said honestly. "But I know this. My people have been waiting 800 years for a chance. 800 years of sleeping in the cold darkness, dreaming of home. We are not going to waste it." On the screen, new lights were appearing. Human ships, joining the Hammer of Sol from across the sector. They were old ships, battered and worn, but they were alive. Their crews were waking up, their weapons were powering on, their hearts were full of fire. Taiho finished his broadcast and closed the channel. He sat in his captain's chair, looking at the fleet forming around him. "Computer," he said, "set course for the first rally point. Maximum speed. Course set, Captain. Engines at full power." The Hammer of Sol moved forward, leading the way. Behind it, dozens of ships followed. In front of it, the galaxy waited. Humanity was back. The ghosts had awakened, and the Dominion's long reign was about to end. The war for Earth had begun. Aliens discovered a human ghost warship, awakening humanity's deadliest. Weapon Part 2. The awakening Juna sat in a chair in the Valkyrie Medical Bay. Her body was wrapped in a warm blanket, and she held a cup of hot liquid in her hands. She did not know what the drink was, but it was sweet, and it helped her think. The aliens had been kind to her. They had given her food, water, and medicine to help her recover from the long sleep, but her mind was not calm. Her thoughts kept going back to the last moments she remembered. The battle, the fire, the screaming. She remembered standing at her weapons console on the bridge of the Hammer of Soul. She remembered the ship shaking as enemy fire hit them again and again. She remembered Captain Taiho shouting orders, his voice calm even as everything fell apart around them. She remembered the moment when the main power failed and the emergency lights came on, bathing everything in red, and she remembered the order. Taiho's final command before she went to the cryogenic bay. "Protect Dakebi," he had said. "Whatever happens, it must never fall into enemy hands." Dakebi. The word meant ghost or spirit in the old Korean language. It was the code name for humanity's most secret weapon. Yuna was one of only 12 people on the ship who knew what it really was. And now, 800 years later, she might be the only one left who knew. The door opened and Commander Rillo entered. The tall blue alien had been very patient with her. He had answered all her questions honestly, even when the answers were painful. He had told her about the current state of the galaxy. He had told her about the Dominion's expansion. He had told her that humanity was believed to be extinct. "How are you feeling?" Rillo asked through his translator device. "Better," Yuna said. "Thank you for your kindness. Your people are good." Rillo sat down across from her. "Yuna, I must ask you some questions. I hope you understand. We found something very old and very strange. We need to understand what it is." Yuna nodded. She had expected this. "Ask? Your ship. The Hammer of Soul. What was its purpose?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. How much should she tell them? These aliens seemed peaceful, but she had just met them. She did not know if she could trust them with humanity's secrets. "We were part of the United Earth Navy," she said carefully. "We fought against the Dominion in the Great War. The war that destroyed my people." "The Dominion," Rillo said. "They are still powerful. They control half the galaxy now." "Half?" Yuna felt her stomach twist. "Only half? 800 years, and they only have half?" Rillo looked surprised. "You sound disappointed." "Not disappointed. Surprised." Yuna set down her cup. "When I went to sleep, the Dominion was unstoppable. They had conquered everything in their path. Earth was burning. Our colonies were falling one by one. We thought they would own the entire galaxy within 100 years. Something slowed them down," Rillo said. "About 700 years ago, the Dominion's expansion suddenly stopped. They pulled back many of their fleets. They became defensive instead of aggressive. Our historians do not know why." Yuna thought about this. 700 years ago would have been about 100 years after the war. Something had changed. Something had made the Dominion afraid. "Tell me about my ship," she said. "What condition is it in?" "Most systems are dead, but the structure is intact. It is a strong ship, very strong. We have never seen construction like it. Humans built their ships to last," Yuna said with a small smile. "We knew we were outmatched. We could not build as many ships as the Dominion. So we built each ship to survive what 10 enemy ships could not." Rillo leaned forward. "Yuna, there's something else. We found thousands of your people in cryogenic sleep. Most of them are still alive. We could wake them up." Yuna's heart jumped. "Taiho? Captain Taiho? Is he alive?" Rillo checked his datapad. "I do not know names. But the highest-ranking officer we identified seems to be in stable condition. Male, older, many markings on his uniform. That is him. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. She had served under Taiho for 5 years. He was more than her captain. He was her teacher, her mentor, almost like a father. Please, do not wake him yet. Do not wake any of them. Why not? Yuna hesitated. Because I need to check something first. I need to see if the ship's secure systems are still working. There are things on that ship that are dangerous. Very dangerous. I need to make sure they are safe before anyone else wakes up. Rillo studied her with his 4 eyes. You are hiding something. Yes, Yuna admitted. I am. Not because I do not trust you, but because the secret is not mine alone. It belongs to all of humanity, or what is left of us. I cannot share it without permission from my captain. Rillo was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. I understand. We all have duties to our people. I will take you back to your ship. You can check your systems. But please, Yuna, be careful. Whatever secrets you are protecting, make sure they are worth protecting. 1 hour later, Yuna floated through the dark corridors of the Hammer of Soul. The Valkyrie had given her a suit and a light. She moved through the familiar halls, remembering where everything was. Here was the mess hall, where she had eaten breakfast every morning. There was the gym where she had trained with Sergeant Wanjin. Down that corridor was the bridge where she had spent most of her time, but she was not going to any of those places. She was going deeper, down to the lowest level of the ship, down to the place that only 12 people had access to. The door was still sealed. The emergency power was still working, keeping the lock active. Yuna placed her hand on the scanner and waited. After 800 years, would it still recognize her? The door clicked. Green lights appeared. The seal broke with a hiss of old air. She pushed the door open and floated inside. The room was small. There was a single console in the center, connected to a large metal box. The box was covered in warning symbols and security locks. Inside that box was humanity's last hope. Inside that box was Dokebi. Yuna moved to the console and pressed the power button. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered to life. Old text appeared, green letters on a black background. Dokebi system status. Secure. All components. Functional. Awaiting activation code. Yuna let out a breath she did not know she was holding. It was still here. It still worked. 800 years of floating in dead space, and the system was still ready. She did not activate it. She did not have the full code. Only Captain Taiho had that. But she checked all the secondary systems, making sure everything was intact. The data was there. The transmitter was there. The power source was there. Everything humanity had sacrificed to create was still waiting. Then she checked the ship's external sensors. Most were dead, but a few still had power. She looked at the data they had collected since the quiet dawn arrived. And she saw something that made her blood run cold. There were signals, faint signals, coming from far away. But she recognized the frequency. She recognized the pattern. Dominion communication codes thought the Valkyrie's arrival had been detected. Someone had seen them come to this part of space. And that someone had sent a message to the Dominion fleet. They were coming. Yuna pushed herself out of the room and flew through the corridors as fast as she could. She had to warn Rillo. She had to tell him what was coming. The Dominion did not forget. The Dominion did not forgive. And if they learned that a human warship had been found, they would send everything they had to destroy it, because the Dominion remembered the war. They remembered what humans had done to them. They remembered why they had stopped their expansion. They were afraid, and Yuna was starting to understand why they should be. She burst onto the Valkyrie shuttle and grabbed Rillo's arm. We have to move. Now. The Dominion knows we are here. Rillo's eyes went wide. What? I do not know. But I intercepted their signals. A fleet is coming. A big fleet. They will be here in hours, maybe less. We can leave. We can run. No. Una shook her head. They will follow you. They will hunt you down. The only way your people survive is if my ship fights them. Your ship has no power. Your crew is asleep. Una looked at him with fire in her eyes. Then we wake them up. All of them. Now. Rillo stared at her. There are 10,000 of them. I know. Una smiled, and it was not a peaceful smile. It was the smile of a soldier who had been waiting 800 years for revenge. And the Dominion has no idea what is coming.